Get up. Saquon Barkley was sensational in the snow yesterday. 2 long touchdown runs. In all, 205 rushing yards for Barkley yesterday. And that was just enough for the Eagles to get past the Rams on a snowy day in Philadelphia and advance to the NFC Championship game, which they will host next week. But I want to read several numbers from the stat sheet to my quarterbacks over here. The combination of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown yesterday, they combined, and that's about as good a 1-2 punch it should be as almost any team in the NFL has. They had 35 combined receiving yards yesterday. The Rams had 4 individual players who had more receiving yards than that. What is wrong with the Eagles' passing game, and can they possibly win 2 more games like this?
It's going to be hard to win 2 more games with the passing game like this. I would say yesterday it did look like Jalen was not confident trying to cut the ball loose in some timing and rhythm throws. Last week I felt that they were covered up. Yesterday I did think that there were opportunities for him to be just confident throwing the football. This is early on the game. They got a curl at the bottom of the screen. That flat defender towards the bottom widens. Jalen can let that ball out on time, but he doesn't, and it turns into a scramble. This one up top, A.J. Brown, he's got an out route versus press man. Trust he's going to win and throw it to the pylon. He doesn't, turns into a sack. This one, stop route at the top. He's thrown this consistently well in his career with A.J. Brown. He doesn't throw it there, turns into a scramble. And another one where I think he's got a crossing route versus man coverage. You're going to see it coming from the bottom of the screen. Climb the pocket. It's man. You can just float that ball to a space. It's clear that safety's not going to be in play. And that's that play that he gets folded up dangerously on. I do think that there were moments yesterday where he could have just been confident and convicted with what he was looking at and cut it loose. And there's a completion there, and he just did it. He didn't look like he was very confident in that.
What did you see, Alex?
No, I agree. And listen, this passing game, and we've seen it from this offense all year, it is conservative by nature. Yes. And Jalen is conservative with the football by nature. Listen, he's risk adverse. He values the football, and that's been the formula for this offense. He's doing what this offense wants him to do, right? They live in a world, we've talked about it with the tush push. It is 1st and 9. Everybody, they got a different set of rules there, right? And so you see it on 3rd down. Watch their 3rd down play calling. I mean, this team never throws it past the sticks, right? Again, trying to get to a 4th and 1 so we can tush push, right? They throw, I mean, only Daniel Jones and Gardner Minshew have a lower stick percentage than Jalen Hurts. That's a fact, right? And again, he took the sacks, and he has these games. And I agree with you. This was they could win yesterday in the snow. They may be able next week, right? Washington's run defense is not great. Can they hoist a Lombardi doing this? I don't think so.
Yeah. I'm going to say something I can't prove. If it wasn't for the weather yesterday, the Rams are winning that game.
Yeah,
they probably should have won it even in the weather that they played in. What is wrong with the passing game in Philadelphia?
Look, obviously it looks a little bit Jalen looks different than he did back in the days when Shane Steichen was the offensive coordinator. He doesn't look as look. They don't have a whole lot of the same type of RPOs that they had back then.
Right.
It looks a little bit more conservative than it did back then. Look, a lot of the weaponry is still the same. You know, AJ's still there, Devontae's still there, Dallas is still there, and then on top of it, they have Saquon. So I mean, there's probably more weaponry around him than it was even then. But he does look like they have kind of reined him in a little bit and said, "Hey, look, just don't be the reason we lose the game. You don't have to be the reason we win it because we're just so good in other areas right now." And can they win a Super Bowl with this formula? Obviously, the margin for error is shrunk. But as I said in the last hour, on offense, you know, when you're talking about the passing game, to me, from a defensive perspective, you're talking about that is the easiest and quickest way to create explosives. The kind of plays that can turn the game just like that. You can be crap, and all of a sudden, boom, hit somebody for 70 on a big play, like Kansas City used to do.
Right.
They do it in a different way. It's not the passing game. It's Saquon.
Right.
Body blow, bloody blow. Here I go, 75 yards. If he keeps doing that and they keep turning the ball over on defense, yeah, they can win the Super Bowl.
What do you see, D-Wood?
I see a team that for so long their identity has been Saquon. Saquon is everything runs through Saquon, obviously the offensive line, and they play great defense. There's no question they've done a lot, winning a lot of games. My question is, what happens when things go differently in the ball game? What if you face a high-powered team like the Commanders with a dynamic quarterback that can throw the ball all over the field? You get into a shootout. Now you got to ask your quarterback, "Hey man, now we need you." When we really haven't needed you for a while, but now we need you because the guy on the other side is a dog as well. Now the question is, can he go out there and do it in that situation?
I hear you, but this passing game doesn't have to be calculus, right?
Not.
Like with this offensive line and Saquon, it is like basic arithmetic, right? Hey, listen, we got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown out here, right? And this running game. It doesn't have to be complex, right? You just showed it on the clip. Hitches, fades, slants. Like, you don't have to do a whole lot. The defense, the opposing defense has to commit so many bodies to the box to stop this run game. You're going to get good looks on the outside. And yet, somehow we're still only throwing for 65 yards in a game. It doesn't add up. It is hard.
Yeah, so I think what they're going to have to figure out is what are the 3 things or the 4 things that they can go to as an offense where, hey, we have to throw the football to go score or win this game over the next week to potentially 2 weeks? I think they really have to hone in on that in Philadelphia because they don't there is a little bit of a predictability right now in their pass game. I think that's why teams are sitting on stuff a little bit more. And then I think when it's close, and Alex knows this, when there's color near his guys, there's not a ton of confidence when he's throwing the football.
Remember, they played each other. The Eagles and Commanders did on December 22nd. Jalen Hurts, that's the game where he got hurt early. He barely played. Jaden Daniels threw 5 touchdowns. He would. If I said the Lions' Super Bowl window closed Saturday night, is that fact or fiction?
Really, I think it's a fact. I mean, you look at this team, no one doubts the personnel that they have on this team, but you're talking about potentially both of their coordinators, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, potentially taking head coaching jobs for other organizations. That's a lot of brain drain that you could be losing within your organization.
Shefty suggests it's a virtual certainty that both of those coordinators are going to get head coaching jobs probably this week. Alex, if someone said the Texans wasted their best shot at beating Kansas City, would that be fact or fiction?
I'm going to say fiction here. Listen, they certainly had a chance to win this ball game, but this team has such a bright future. I mean, listen, they got a stud at quarterback. He's still on his rookie contract. Derek Stingley Jr., all-pro on a rookie contract. Will Anderson Jr., D'Amico Ryans is unbelievable. Let's not forget where this organization was 3 years ago. It was a dumpster fire. Like, this is still bright for this team.
Okay, fair enough. And then, Dan, going back to yesterday, if someone said, and be clear, I'm not saying it, but if someone said Lamar Jackson is at fault for the Ravens losing, is that fact or fiction?
I'm going to say fiction. I think there's a lot of plays that this Ravens organization is going to be able to look at and say, this one goes different, this one goes different. Does some of the turnover issue that showed itself again lead to that or lend itself to that? Yes, but a fumble by Mark Andrews, a drop 2-point conversion, maybe a not batted ball by Milano on another 2-point conversion. There's a lot of reasons why I think the blame game for the quarterback is so stupid when teams win or lose.
I'll take it further than that. I think you're almost underdoing it. I thought Lamar Jackson more than overcame the mistakes he made in the first half and made more than enough plays to win the game, and it was undone. Look, I don't want to put just the quarterbacks always get the blame. Let's just say it. Okay, he's a great player. He's been a great player, and everybody loves him. Mark Andrews lost them that game yesterday. The fumble in the middle of the field and the drop on the 2-point conversion, that's the game. Yeah. The Ravens win the game if not for those 2 plays.
I would agree with that, yes. Like, obviously, those plays stand out. This is what I will say about it with regards to Lamar. The dark cloud is going to follow him. It just is. Lamar's played 94 regular season games. He's had multiple turnovers in those 94 games 14 times. He's played 8 postseason games. He's had multiple turnovers in 4 of them. It is going to follow him. And with all due respect, they're not paying Mark Andrews a gajillion dollars to kind of be that eraser.
Right.
And they are with Lamar. He, more often than not, is. For some reason, he isn't in the playoffs.
Listen, let's not leave the defense out of this either, right? Like, this was the #1 rush defense in the NFL. They ran for 150 yards on him and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the defense is supposed to travel, right? This is a cold weather game, right? They only threw for 120 yards. You needed to stop the run, and this was a defense that had done it all year and couldn't do it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it, and I think what we're all pointing to is the fact. Look, we want to hang it on someone or some phase or something because that just kind of like makes it all feel better for us to say, look, okay, I know exactly what happened. But we know it's always a confluence of things. It's always, a bunch of different things that lead to wins and losses, just like there's a bunch of different things that lead to plays being successful and not successful. Like the first interception of Rashad Bateman, people go, Lamar, what are you doing? You can't throw that play. Well, how do you know that Rashad came out of it the right way?
Right.
How do you know that? I mean, it's not necessarily just Lamar's fault. And when you're talking about Mark Andrews, too, look, the guy's a competitor. The guy's trying to make more yardage. Would you like to see him get vertical? Yeah. Terrell Bernard, give him credit. He's a professional. The dude lined it up perfectly. Sometimes this stuff happens. There's a number of different things. Like that pass. The pass interference, against Tre'Davious White.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at this. That's such a pinpoint play by Terrell Bernard on that play. It's just, you hate it. You hate trying to assign blame. It comes with the territory. But there's just so many things that added up to this game, ended up the way it did.
D-Wood, the thing is that when one team has 430 yards and the other team has 274 yards, and that team wins, something has to have gone wrong, right? I mean, you don't win a game when you get that outgained and that outplayed, candidly. But the Bills made huge plays when they were there to be made. They didn't make any crushing mistakes, and the Ravens did. The question I'll let you answer one time, and then I'm told we have a special guest, is how much of it is fair to put on the quarterback? If someone says, someone is going to say this is on Lamar Jackson, they're going to say, oh, Lamar didn't get it done again. What would you say to that person?
He's part of the discussion. He's part of it. He's part of the discussion. He's not all of it, but he's part of it.
The fumble.
The fumble.
The fumble.
Listen, what makes Lamar Jackson so special is he always makes special plays. But sometimes you got to understand in the course of a game, when you have weather conditions as they are, you know what? Let me just fall down and let me just play the next play out. You live to fight another day. But because this dude has always made the spectacular, he actually put himself in the worst position, and that led directly to points.
So the great Booger McFarland is standing by. He's going to come on and help us preview the national championship game, but he is listening to our conversation, and I'm told he wants in.
Go, Boog.
Good morning, Booger.
Bull, don't come in here talking crazy now.
Jump. The floor is yours, Booger. Go.
Top of the morning, gentlemen. Listen, come playoff time, guys, what do we always laud Kansas City for? Their best players, like Travis and Patrick, make the plays at the biggest moments. In the biggest games, they make the plays. And so I think it's a very fair statement to say that in Baltimore's biggest moments, the quarterbacks can agree or disagree. Lewis, you or Woody can agree or disagree. Baltimore's best players didn't play big yesterday. And that's Lamar Jackson, and that's Mark Andrews. And I think that's a fair statement to make. Lamar's going to win the MVP, I think. I think he's going to be a 3-time MVP. But it's fair to say that in the biggest moments, he hasn't come up the biggest. And you have to ask the question, why does that continue to happen? And Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson, and I also think you have to put it on this coaching staff. What did we talk about when we talk about Derrick Henry? Only 16 carries yesterday. He's got to run the football a little bit more. If he's going to be one of your better players, he's got to touch the football more. And I get it. He dropped the pass out of the backfield. So I think there is enough blame to go around. It's not just one person. But you have to ask the question, how come their best players in Baltimore in the biggest games continue to come up the smallest? Not just one time. Okay, not just 2 times. This has continued to happen. And I think that's a question that if you're John Harbaugh, you have to answer that question, not only for your team, but for yourself.